You know, I used to believe that when you became a mother, something in your heart just changed forever. That's what I believed about my own mom too, until she proved me wrong. My name is Ellen. I'm 62 years old, and this story isn't about revenge. It's about realization, and what happens when kindness gets mistaken for weakness one too many times. My son Jamie had just turned 9. He's my miracle boy, born after years of fertility treatments, heartbreak, and one doctor gently telling me, "You might have to make peace with not being a mother." But somehow, by God's grace, Jamie came into my life, and he became my whole world. So when Mom texted me that morning, just 4 days before his birthday, I was already in a good mood, thinking about baking his favorite chocolate cake, the one with crushed cookies on top. Her message popped up on my screen. "We're skipping Jamie's birthday this year, honey. Trying to save some money? Hope he understands." At first, I just stared at it. It didn't sound like my mom, not the woman who used to throw backyard cookouts for every cousin's half-birthday, who once drove 3 hours to deliver a forgotten cake. But times had changed. After my dad retired, money had been tight, or at least that's what they always said. So I texted back, "Of course, Mom, I understand. Tell Dad I love him." Jamie was sitting nearby, cutting out shapes for his birthday invitations. He asked softly, "Grandma and Grandpa are coming, right?" And I lied. I told him, "They'll try, sweetheart." That night, as I tucked him into bed, I stared at his little face and felt my heart twist. I told myself maybe they really were short on money. Maybe the world was just harder for them now. Maybe I was being unfair. The next day, I was scrolling through Facebook while Jamie was at school, just killing time between laundry loads, when I saw my sister's Livestream pop up. "Family day at Mom and Dad's." The caption read with a dozen heart emojis. I clicked on it. The screen filled with color, balloons everywhere, tables full of food, and a banner that read, "Happy birthday to the twins." There they were, my niece and nephew, laughing as my parents handed them shiny wrapped boxes and envelopes of cash. Mom was smiling wide. Dad was grilling steaks. Even my sister was live commenting, tagging friends, posting photos with captions like, "Family love is everything." I just sat there, my phone in my hand, my coffee going cold. "Trying to save money," she said. "Skipping birthdays," she said. But there it was, a full-blown party, all for my sister's kids. It wasn't about money. It was about priorities. When Jamie came home from school, he ran up to me, waving a crumpled paper in his hand. "Mom, my teacher said I can bring cupcakes for my birthday tomorrow. Can we make them together tonight?" I smiled, but it felt forced. "Of course we can," I said. We baked, laughed, and he told me about a girl named Sarah who said he was funny but weird. And for a while, I forgot. I forgot about that live stream, about the betrayal sitting heavy in my chest. But the next evening, as Jamie scrolled through my phone to look at old family pictures, he saw the notification still sitting there. Mom and Dad's live stream, family birthday party. He clicked it before I could stop him. The sound of laughter filled the room again, and this time it broke something. He watched quietly for a few seconds. Then, in the smallest voice, he said, "Guess they forgot me again." There are moments as a mother when your heart doesn't just break. It shatters, silently, so your child doesn't have to hear it. I pulled him close and said, "No, sweetheart. They didn't forget you. Some people just forget how to love properly." That night, after he went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my laptop. The same laptop I used every month to pay my parents' bills, their utilities, their mortgage gap, even their car insurance. Because after Dad's retirement, I'd quietly taken on those responsibilities. It was never discussed, never publicized, just something a daughter did out of love. But love, I realized that night, doesn't mean letting people use you. I opened the banking app. There it was. The automatic transfer I'd set up every first of the month. Mortgage support, $200. Utility coverage, $480. Car insurance, $210. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. My heart pounded in my chest, and I whispered to myself, "Guess they forgot who's been saving them all along." With one click, I paused every single payment. Then I closed my laptop, took a deep breath, and whispered, "Happy birthday, Jamie." This year, Mama's giving herself a gift too. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jamie's little face. The way he tried to smile after seeing that video, the way he whispered, "Guess they forgot me again." And then I'd see my mother's voice message in my head. Trying to save money. No, I thought. Not anymore. By morning, I'd made peace with my decision. I wasn't angry. I was done. There's a difference. I brewed coffee, packed Jamie's lunch, kissed his forehead and told him, "Don't let anyone make you feel small today." He smiled, confused, but nodded like he understood something deeper than I said. Around 9 a.m., I was sitting in the living room folding laundry when I heard banging on my front door. Not knocking, banging, like someone trying to break it down. I opened it and there stood Dad, red-faced, breathing heavy, still in his old flannel jacket. "Ellen, what the hell did you do?" I blinked. "Good morning to you too, Dad." He waved his phone in my face. "Your mother just got off the phone with the mortgage company. They said the payment didn't go through. Did you forget something?" I looked him dead in the eye and said calmly, "No, I didn't forget anything." His eyebrows shot up. "Then what's this nonsense? The bank says you canceled the automatic transfers. You know we rely on that." Your mother was in tears. I stepped aside and gestured toward the couch. "Why don't you sit down, Dad?" "I'm not sitting down," he barked. "You can't just pull funding without warning. That's your responsibility." I felt my chest tighten. "My responsibility?" I repeated softly. "Yes," he snapped. "You've been helping us for years. You know how hard it is for us since I retired. You can't just—" I cut him off, my voice trembling but steady. "Dad, you told me once that family doesn't keep score. But I think you only said that because you were the one always winning." He blinked, confused. What's that supposed to mean? I walked to the counter, picked up my phone, and opened the Livestream video, the one from the day before. I pressed play. The sound of laughter filled the room again. My sister's voice, my mother's laughter, the kids blowing out candles, everyone singing. I turned the screen toward him. "This is what it means," I said. "You told me you couldn't afford to come to your grandson's birthday, but you threw a party for someone else's kids." His mouth opened, then closed again. "That's not fair," he said finally. "It was just something small." "Small?" I said quietly. "There were 50 people there, Dad. You had a balloon arch." He rubbed his temples. "Your mother didn't mean to hurt anyone. You know how she is about appearances. She didn't want your sister's feelings hurt." I just stared at him. "So she chose my son's feelings instead?" He sighed. "You're overreacting, Ellen. Jamie's just a kid. He'll forget." And that was it. That single sentence, "he'll forget." I felt something inside me harden. For years, I had been the one fixing things, paying bills, covering medical costs, babysitting my sister's kids whenever she needed, and every time I told myself, it's okay, it's family. But that morning, standing in front of my father, the man who taught me what love was supposed to mean, I realized he'd only ever meant it one way. So I said, "You're right, Dad. He will forget, but I won't." He looked stunned. "You can't just cut us off like this. We're your parents." I nodded. "And I've been a good daughter. I've helped when I could. But love doesn't mean paying for disrespect. It's not my job to fund the people who hurt my child." He pointed a finger at me, voice rising. "You're being cruel." "Cruel?" I echoed. "Cruel is making a 9-year-old feel invisible." We stood there for a long time, neither speaking. Finally, he muttered, "Your mother will never forgive you." And I said quietly, "Then maybe she'll understand how it feels." He stormed out without another word, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled on the wall. I stood there shaking, hands trembling, not from fear, but release. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't being the peacekeeper. I was being the protector. That afternoon, I picked Jamie up from school and we went for ice cream. He told me about his math test, about how Sarah said she liked his cupcakes. And then he said, "Mom, when Grandma and Grandpa come next time, can I ask them why they didn't come to my party?" I took a breath and said, "You can, sweetheart, but they might not come for a while." He thought for a moment and said, "That's okay. We have our own party, right?" I smiled. Yes, baby, we do. He grinned, mouth full of chocolate ice cream, and said, Good. I like our kind of party better anyway. That night, I checked my messages. Dozens of missed calls. One from Mom, one from Dad, 2 from my sister, all with the same message. You're tearing this family apart, Ellen. But I didn't respond. Because maybe, just maybe, it was time to let the pieces fall, so I could rebuild them my way. 3 days passed. 3 days of silence, except for the hum of my phone, lighting up with messages I didn't open. Then, on the 4th morning, it rang again. It was my sister. I almost didn't answer, but something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe old habit, pressed accept. Ellen, she said, her voice sharp but trembling. You can't just do this. Mom's been crying for days. Dad's blood pressure's through the roof. You're making everything worse. I kept my tone calm. Am I? Yes, she snapped. You know they depend on that money. It's cruel to take it away all of a sudden. I let out a quiet breath. Cruel as telling your grandson you're too broke for his birthday, then live streaming a party the same day. Silence. Then she said, Oh, for heaven's sake, you're still hung up on that? Hung up? I repeated softly. My son cried himself to sleep. You think I'm hung up? I think I'm finally awake. Ellen, don't turn this into drama, she sighed. You know how Mom is. She didn't mean to hurt anyone. You're overreacting. There it was. That word again. Overreacting. It was their favorite word whenever I dared to have feelings. I almost hung up, but then I said, You know, Rachel, I've been thinking. You've never had to worry about money, have you? Not really. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, nothing, I said casually. Just that Mom told me last year your mortgage was behind. Then suddenly Dad's savings took a little dip. She said they were helping you out. I didn't question it at the time. A long pause. Then softly she said, That was none of your business. It became my business, I said. The day I realized the money I send every month might not have been keeping the lights on for Mom and Dad. It might have been keeping your house from foreclosure. Her voice cracked. That's not true, isn't it? I said. Because the math doesn't add up. I checked. Dad's pension and my transfers covered more than their bills. So where did it go? Rachel didn't answer. I could hear her breathing quicken. Finally, she said, You have no idea how much pressure I'm under. You don't have a husband anymore. You don't understand. There it was. The dagger slipped in smooth. I understand enough, I said, voice steady. You think because I'm alone I'm easy to guilt. You think I won't fight back because you've all trained me not to. Ellen, stop twisting things. We're family. Yes, I said. And family shouldn't take advantage of each other. She scoffed. You always loved playing the martyr, didn't you? I laughed, not bitterly, but almost sadly. Maybe I did, but the show's over now. She went quiet again. Then, in a smaller voice, she said, Mom said if you don't fix this, she won't come to Christmas. I almost smiled. Then maybe I'll finally have a peaceful one. Ellen, no, I interrupted softly. You don't get to guilt me this time. Tell Mom and Dad I wish them well, but if they want to talk, it won't be about money. It'll be about respect. She sighed, then muttered, You've changed. I hope so, I said. I needed to. I hung up. That night I couldn't sleep again, but not from guilt. From relief. For the first time in years, my phone was quiet. No new emergency transfers, no last minute, can you help? Messages, just peace. Jamie crawled into bed with me halfway through the night. Mom, he whispered, am I in trouble? Because you're sad. I wrapped my arms around him. No, sweetheart. Mommy's not sad. Mommy's changing. He nodded sleepily. Like when caterpillars turn into butterflies? I smiled into his hair. Exactly like that. The next day, I received a letter in the mail. It wasn't from a friend. It was from the bank. And what I read made my stomach drop, and my anger rise all over again. It said, Dear Mrs. Thompson, we're following up on your recent account adjustments. Please confirm that you intended to remove the joint access link to Mr. and Mrs. Miller. My parents had joint access to my account, not to receive funds, but to transfer them. That meant they'd been using my help like their own wallet. And the worst part? The joint access was added 2 years ago by my sister's husband, who worked at the same branch. I sat down hard. They hadn't just used me. They'd planned it. I stared out the window for a long time after that. The maple tree in my yard was starting to turn red, late autumn, quiet, still. Jamie was playing in the yard, tossing a ball to the neighbor's dog, laughing like nothing in the world was wrong. And that's when I decided this wasn't just about money anymore. This was about boundaries, about teaching my son what self-respect looks like, even when it hurts. So I picked up my phone, opened my banking app, and started making some calls, because if they wanted to see what cruel looked like, they were about to. The following Saturday, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to my parents' house. Jamie stayed home with a neighbor. I didn't want him near what was about to happen. When I walked in, the smell of coffee filled the air. Dad was in his recliner reading the paper. Mom sat on the couch, phone in hand. My sister Rachel was there too, pretending to look surprised. "Ellen," Mom said coldly, "you finally decided to show up." "I did," I replied. "Thought it was time we had a real conversation." Dad folded his paper slowly. "We've been worried sick. What's this nonsense with the bank? The manager called me, said you froze access." I looked at them both. "That's right, I did," Mom frowned. "Why on earth would you do something like that?" "Because," I said, laying the letter on the coffee table, "I found out you've been using my account without asking. You and Rachel's husband added joint access 2 years ago. Every help payment I made went into a shared pool you all dipped from." Rachel stood up. "That's ridiculous." "Really?" I said. "Then maybe you can explain why the mortgage payment from your address shows up on my statements." Dad's face drained of color. Mom's lips trembled. "Ellen, sweetheart," she began softly. "You don't understand. We were just—" "No," I cut in. "I understand perfectly. You lied. You said you couldn't afford to come to my son's birthday. You said times were hard, and all along you were using my help to fund your comfort." Rachel's voice cracked. "You don't have to make this ugly." "It's already ugly," I said, finally raising my voice. "I sent that money out of love, not to be mocked, not to be tricked, and certainly not to be made to feel like the outsider in my own family." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "You've always been too emotional. Stop calling it emotional," I snapped. "Call it what it is, honest." There was silence, the kind that fills a room when truth finally finds its voice. I reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope. "This," I said, sliding it across the table, "is a record of every transfer I've made since 2019, over $40,000. That's more than enough for your bills, and your vacations." Mom looked down at it, speechless. I continued, "Starting today, I'm done. No more payments, no more quiet forgiveness. If you ever need something, you can ask me, honestly. But I won't be your invisible ATM anymore." Dad tried to stand, but his voice shook. "You're being unreasonable, Ellen." I looked him straight in the eye. "No, Dad, I'm being free." For a moment, no one moved. Then, from the kitchen doorway, someone spoke. It was Jamie. He'd come in quietly, clutching the small card his grandfather had given him last Christmas. The one with no message, just a $10 bill. "Grandpa," he said softly, "you said we couldn't afford a party. But why did you buy Aunt Rachel's kids all those presents?" Mom covered her mouth. Dad's eyes glistened. Rachel looked away. And in that single question, from an 8-year-old boy, the truth hung heavier than anything I could have said. Dad sat down again, suddenly smaller than I'd ever seen him. I made mistakes," he whispered. "Yes," I said quietly. "We all did." We stood there for a long time, in that heavy silence. And then I picked up Jamie's hand. "Come on, sweetheart," I said gently. "We're going home." As I turned to leave, Mom's voice broke behind me. "Ellen, please, don't cut us out completely." I paused at the doorway. "I'm not cutting you out, Mom," I said without looking back. "I'm just—" finally closing the account. Then I walked out, not angry, not crying, just done. That night, while Jamie slept, I sat on the porch watching the stars. For the first time in years, I felt peace. No phone calls, no guilt, no begging for understanding, just quiet. Jamie stirred inside, murmuring something in his sleep. I smiled. He'd grow up seeing his mother stand her ground, not out of spite, but out of strength. Because forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and love doesn't mean letting yourself be used.